Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. Awesome. Welcome to FreedomCast, guys. I'm here with Jess from TFC Barbell here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And welcome.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Reached out to Jess a little while ago to get on the podcast, and I was so glad she was willing to come on. She has an awesome facility. I'll actually do a gym tour with everybody here in a little bit, but I wanted to get a little bit of background on how you even started this. We were chatting a little bit ago before we started about the fact that you actually got the gym going right when COVID hit. So
Absolutely.
I'm curious about that, as well as your background on lifting and that kind of thing.
No, absolutely. So, oh gosh, many years ago, I was a big shot put, discus, javelin, hammer thrower when I was in middle school. And I was really into it, and I wanted to get better, as like most young athletes do. And I told my mom that I was pretty serious about it. And she said, well, you know what, we'll try to enlist maybe a private coach for you. And we found this guy. He was a math teacher at a school, and he actually was very experienced with young athletes as it related to track and field, emphasis on field. And so we found this guy, and the guy was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll train her. She looks like she can give this a go. I just have one caveat. If I train her, I'll train her for free, shot put and discus, if she competes on my powerlifting team. And so, of course, my mom, parents, they'll throw you to the wolves for a free buck. They're like, sure, absolutely. They're like, sure. She's like, sure, absolutely. I'll tell her. She's going to say yes, whether I had to say so in it or not. She's going to kill me when she hears that. So I remember my first time meeting the guy. He was like, great, get on the bench. I mean, it was barely an introduction. Get on the bench. He threw I was 14 years old. He threw 2 45 pounds on the bench, one on each side, lifted. And I had never barbelled ever. Even in weightlifting class, I had never touched really a barbell. A lot of it was dumbbell, or any type of, conditioning, sprinting, stuff like that. I'd never really touched a barbell. And so he goes, lift this, and obviously it fell on my chest. And I told my mom, I don't want to do that. And she said, well, you're going to do it. And so that's kind of how my powerlifting career started, if you will. So it was kind of like an AAU powerlifting team. It was called Higher Power. And we would travel across the Carolinas, and we would compete outside of doing our shot put competitions, discus competitions. And that's kind of how I got started. And obviously I fell in love with it. I kept up with it for years, all through high school, a little bit in college. And then I kind of dialed back in college, and I started playing rugby in college. So that's how it got started. I've competed a lot, but I did it a lot in my younger years. So now it's super popular, 10, 15 years ago. For young kids, not as popular. And so I've always just had a love for powerlifting. And probably going on a tangent, but I went to college for exercise science because I wanted to continue to be in that niche. And senior year of undergrad, I kind of wanted to do something else because I'm like, I don't know if this works for me. So I went in a totally different field with my graduate degree, and I did that for a couple of years, which is HR, and I still do that. So that's kind of like my full-time gig, if you will, but I love it. It's not something that I'm looking to get rid of. And then in 2017, I started having this, young life crisis of, I need to be using my degree. I haven't. What can I do? And so I started a fitness company called the FitFat Coach, hence TFC. And so the FitFat Coach was geared towards body positivity, geared towards young women having to, wanting to empower. And I say empower because I don't really like the word empower, but wanting to empower them through powerlifting, through strength training. Doesn't matter what you look like, as long as you're healthy, as long as you're strong. You can still be anything you want to be, do anything you want to do, and you don't have to look like an Instagram fitness model to do it. Yeah, so that's kind of how that got started, the FitFat Coach, and so that was more mobile, going all over the place, people's living rooms, backyards, parks, training individuals. And then in 2019, I got the ability to have the opportunity to open my own space. And so I did that. I did that in my grand opening. So what Ashton was saying, my grand opening was March 7th, 2020. That was my grand opening. I had to close my entire facility on March 23rd. And I did not reopen until, oh my gosh, maybe July or August. So it was brutal for a while. It was brutal.
Yeah, I bet. So talk a little bit about how you survived, because I'm sure you had a lot of capital invested in here. How did you survive during that time?
Absolutely. So I don't even know if I can say that I did survive. I was telling Ashton that you don't really know. You don't know what you don't know. So I wasn't really losing anything because I didn't have anything to begin with. If anything, it set me back from a clientele standpoint. But like most gyms that have been around for, the last decade, they were losing incredible revenue and profitability, whereas I wasn't. I did have a lot of capital, so, the bills have to be paid. But I rented out equipment. I got a great market with that. So, people were starting their home gyms, that went on a national craze. That was a phenomenon. And I was able to take part in that, luckily. But renting out equipment for a couple of bucks. I would continue to work out in here myself. I got really heavy in my online coaching. So, coaching those individuals that were in their home gyms, in their garages, writing programs for them. So I wasn't making, I wouldn't say I was making enough to keep the lights on, but fortunately, I still had my full-time job. I was still working in HR. So I was still getting money that way, and I was still able to kind of supplement that with the business. My wife was working at the time. We were able to supplement her income with the business. Not really what you want to do, but you got to do what you got to do to stay open. And so it worked out. It worked out. And when we reopened, it was like floodgates. It was like floodgates. It was amazing. I was able to upgrade a lot of equipment just in less than a year, and really kind of set my stance. So it worked out. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think so you're closing in March, you're opening back in July or August. And how are people hearing about you to begin with, like with your grand opening? Are you pumping it out on social media? It was just kind of word of mouth, or?
I would say it was a little bit of everything. Okay. So, obviously social media is the name of the game these days. If you don't have an Instagram account, who are you? Unfortunately. If I didn't have a business, I wouldn't have Instagram, to be honest with you. I really don't like it. Yep. But Instagram, doing promotions, doing sponsorships on Instagram, Facebook. I actually did a commercial ad. Oh. I did a commercial ad through, I can't even remember their name, but 96.1, the Cat station, R&B and hip hop. It was like 3 major stations that promoted my grand opening on March 7th. So I did that. I tried to get on Charlotte Agenda at the time, which is now Axios. I don't know if I'm saying that right, which is now Axios Charlotte, but they their advertising cost is through the roof. You got to kind of take out a second loan just to do a sponsor with them. So I tried to get with them. That didn't really pan out for me. And a lot of it was word of mouth. I have a good network, a big network through rugby, a big network through individuals that I went to college with, even individuals that are in this building that we're in now. We have a couple of tenants in this building. And so it was a little bit of everything that kind of helped us out. Yeah.
And is this exclusively geared towards powerlifters, or do you kind of train all different types?
So I train all different types. I would say that it's a powerlifting based gym because that is my passion. But we have a lot of CrossFitters that come in here. We have a couple of Olympic weightlifters that come in here, and then we have individuals that are geared towards just general fitness. I don't want to compete. I don't want to have a six-pack. I just want to be healthy, and I want to lift a couple of weights every now and then. So I really have a very diverse niche, I would say. So I would never really want to exclusively say powerlifters only, but that is the target audience for sure.
When you came into this, I know you said you have an HR background, but did you have any sort of I found out interviewing a lot of people, some of them don't even know how to promote themselves from a business standpoint, a marketing standpoint. Going in, they don't have the background, but you had exercise science and you were already in HR. Did you already have some of that knowledge, or did you just literally have to Google it on YouTube, like how do I get my name out there and that kind of thing?
I had to Google it. But I also had a lot of friends that I went to college with that became social media content creators. And so I leaned on them. I had a really good friend who's kind of always, she owns the Power Plate. Her name is Shakayla Taylor. And she's kind of always been light years ahead of everyone else. And when we got out of 2009 was when we graduated high school. And she started creating content on Instagram, on social media. And at the time, it's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And I'm just having fun. It's something that I'm interested in, something that I like. And she boomed with it. And I leaned on her. So it's like, what are hashtags? How do you use them to plug yourself? What type of content from a color scheme do you need? What should my bio say? And she helped me out a lot with that. And so I was fortunate enough to have a support system and people in my corner that I knew directly that already had experience with it. So I didn't have to recreate the reel, and I didn't have to rely on Google too much. But I had friends, and I have another friend who's a social media content creator. Her name is Crystal Benson, inspired by Chris. She owns Clickbait. And I'm using her now to continue to learn and continue to grow, because even though I've been at it a while, it's still tough. Yeah. It's hard, and you don't want to do it. It's the consistency that you got to keep up with, and it's tough. But you need those people to kind of keep you accountable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What's your training philosophy around powerlifting? There's some people who are kind of more like on the west side of things, and there's some people who are just kind of completely the opposite, and some people that don't train heavy at all. But what's your philosophy when it comes to training?
Oh man, that's a great question. I've never really thought about that. I think it's twofold. I have a by any means necessary philosophy, and then I also have a we just need to have fun philosophy. I do everything based off weight overload. I don't do percentages. I don't do RPE. I don't do that. It's gauging the client's adaptation and what works for them and what they're able to do from a mental standpoint as well as from a physical standpoint. So it's not only me paying attention to their body and their movements and their misses and their fails and their achievements from a coach, but also from what they're feeling physically as well. And then based off that, we might do an incremental overload of, we're going to add 10 pounds per week. We're going to add 20 pounds per week. And as long as you continue to hit them and succeed and hit them, there's no reason why we can't continue to increase that volume. And so when it comes time to competition, and you know how powerlifting works, that's your chance to put numbers on the bar, whether you've hit it or not in your training block. And that is where, the fun is out the window, and it's by any means necessary. So I saw that you were at the most recent powerlifting competition at Mountain Island Fitness. So I was there too. And I coached my wife. Her name is Megan Bradshaw James. And she's a powerhouse, and she hadn't competed in about a year. And so we were trying to get back to our maxes, and we wanted to do some numbers. We wanted to play it safe because we wanted to go 9 for 9. I believe in going 9 for 9. And towards like the second, third attempt, it was any means necessary. Any means necessary. If you have to grind it, if you have to gutter it, I don't care what you have to do. Whatever number we put on this bar, it's 9 for 9. And there are no ands or what ifs or buts. There are no alternatives. And so I can turn into that coach because you have it in you. You have it in you. You can't give up. And you have a lot of individuals where they might get the bar maybe an inch or two off the ground. And I love that you're listening to your body, but I'm that coach. I want you to try a little bit harder. I want you to grind it at least till you can probably get it to your knees. And if you feel like it's not going to surpass that, then okay, I hear you. But then I'm also in a capacity where it's like, have fun. When we left that powerlifting competition, she came in first place in her weight class. So we got a gold there, which was amazing. And she wants to compete in December. It was kind of like, well, let's take a week or two, go do what you want, and then we'll hit the pavement, guns blazing when you get back at it. So, yeah, I'm kind of twofold. I'm definitely a consistency philosopher. So, when we're in our training blocks, there is no, okay, go take a break. Yeah. We got to hit it. We might lessen what we're doing. We might take it a bit easy, but we're not missing sessions. And then, if we have to change things up a while, maybe we won't do our big 3 lifts this week. Maybe we'll do something else as it relates to mobility, conditioning. But I'm kind of all over the place. But for sure, you want to have fun because that's what we do it for. It's not like we're getting paid millions of bucks to do this sport. It's because we love it and it's because we enjoy it, and that's why we do it. And we should always try to keep that mentality. When you stop having fun, why are you continuing to do it? Yeah.
Are you guys going to be going to the one that they switched locations, so they're going to be back at Mountain Island Fitness in November? I know you said December, but they have another USAPL.
I think it's the Fall Festival in November.
That's right.
Fall Festival in November.
Yeah.
So we won't be there. We'll be in South Carolina doing the state meet in December.
Oh, got it.
At Columbia.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking about the more people I meet, the more I'm like, oh, now I've got a whole crew that I can see go into these competitions. So
yeah,
really
absolutely.
Cool. What I was going to ask you about, like actual training techniques and that kind of thing. There are two. I love asking this question: sumo or conventional? You don't have to choose.
Oh my gosh,
but
the biggest PL debate ever. So listen. I started conventional when I was a kid. I started conventional, and I did conventional for many years. And then one day I just wanted to try sumo. Like, I see people doing that. Let me try it. I didn't dislike it. I don't think it's a cheat because it's allowed. You can do it. It's permitted. I have back issues already. So for me, from a personal standpoint, I tend to rely towards sumo now strictly because of my body. Yeah. It's not because it's easier. It's not because it's better. It's because it's gonna give. It's the less pressure on my spine. Right. My wife, who I train, she warms up conventionally and she competes sumo. Huh. Yeah, she warms up conventionally. Once she gets into her actual big lifts, so she'll switch sumo, and then in competitions she'll go sumo. Yeah, so that's kind of her thing. But I think that at the end of the day, if you want to try to figure out, man, at the end of the day, I'm gonna choose conventional. At the end of the day, I'm gonna choose conventional because, I don't even know the words that I'm looking for. It's easier for most people. I don't necessarily think that it's easier for most people. I think that it's the standard, and I think that people want to compete in the standard way. Okay. And I think that people often think that, well, if I do sumo or if I arch my back too much on bench, that's giving me an extra advantage that maybe I should not have, which is a personal preference. Yeah. It really depends on you. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier. I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, I think that sumo is the easier lift. I do think that. Conventional is much harder, but you got to go with what your body is. But if I were still competing in competitions today, I would compete conventionally. And I would do that because it's the standard. And I want to be the best at the 90th percentile, I want to be the best at what the standard is. I don't want the extra advantage. And I feel like people are going to kill me because I'm saying this. But that's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. Yeah.
Well, and I've got super long arms, so I feel like if I did sumo, I'd probably lift it maybe an inch off the ground and then drop it. It is nice because you're lower to the floor, but and I don't care either way. Right. Like, people can lift however they want. It's just I didn't realize that about the back until I looked that up, between those differences in your back position. So for people who don't know, like she was saying, you're putting a lot more strain on your lower back in a conventional deadlift than you are in a sumo because your torso is a little bit more vertical. So if you have some issues, then you can try different training modalities there. Well, that's awesome. What kind of lifters do you? So, are the majority of the people that are coming in here, are they actually competing, or are you encouraging them to compete? Or
I'm encouraging them to compete.
Okay.
A lot of them are not at the moment. It's something that you really kind of got to get comfortable with and mentally comfortable with. Right. So, no, a lot of them are not competing at the moment. A lot of them are really starting out. So it's like, just last weekend, I had a young lady come in here, and she was like, "Well, talk me through the 3 main components of the 3 main lifts. You know, I do them, but I don't know if I'm doing them correctly. I don't know what the form is. I don't know what the technique is. And so I'm finding that a lot of people are still at that level of, tell me what the differences are. Show me this, show me that. So I have 2 competitors that train out of here, one being my wife, and then Tracy Cook, who owns the Strength Kitchen. And she is coached by Zach Henderson, who used to coach me and my wife together, actually. So there's some pretty big time competitors in here, but everyone else is still trying to get their wheels under them.
Okay. Gotcha. And is the goal to have everybody that or by the way, how big is the membership right now?
I was just looking at my numbers the other day.
Yeah.
I have about 35 members in here.
Awesome.
That does not include, I have a third-party personal training program.
Okay.
So certified personal trainers that are in need of a space, they can bring their clients in here, and they're not required to be members of the gym. Cool. So that doesn't include their clients, and that's probably a extra 20 additional people. Cool. So the foot traffic is pretty heavy. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. And is the goal to have most people that come in be able to compete, or are you just looking for general, health and fitness, that kind of thing?
I would say the goal is to be a competition gym. Okay. That is the goal. Okay. The goal is to have that powerlifting affiliated banner in the back, where individuals are training outside of TFC, and I have at least Traeger. Do you know Traeger Strength? Sounds familiar. Traeger Strength. I can't remember where he's out of, but he was at that powerlifting competition that we just had, and he has a slew of athletes that he trains, that he programs for. I mean, there were at least 20 or 25 people that had on a Traeger Strength shirt, and that is my goal. My goal is to train, I wouldn't say as many athletes as possible, because you still want to be able to have that personal approach. And be able to be attentive, but I want 10 to 15 athletes training outside of TFC from a competitive standpoint. We go to our meets together, we leave our meets together, we have fun. I want that community, I want that family, and I've always kind of been envious of the gyms that have that. And it's funny that I say that, because at the same rate, I'm kind of antisocial. So it's funny I say that, right? I'm kind of antisocial. So I'm trying to get out of that niche and really put myself out there to be able to form that community that I want. Mm-hmm.
I see you'll have a lot of great equipment around here. For somebody in powerlifting, what do you think is the most important piece of training gear that you have? Oh, gosh.
The most important piece from a powerlifting standpoint is this combo rack. I don't know if people can see it, but we have a Texas, right behind you, we have a Texas Strength Systems combo rack, which we have a couple of Rogue Ohio power bars as well. So that's the most important piece, right? I mean, I feel like even if you didn't have accessory equipment, if you just had your power rack, you can do what you need to do. You don't even need a deadlift platform. You just need a rubber floor. And you can get done everything that you need to get done. And then you have all of your body weight accessory exercises that you could do if you didn't have the equipment. So I would say for sure the combo rack, but then I feel like you can't do what you need to do without some type of lat pull down. Without some type of seated row, and a leg curl leg extension machine. Yep. Those are personally my go-tos. Like, if I didn't have anything else in this gym, I would have those 3 pieces.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. On the, what was I gonna say? Oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I love these Ohio power bars. Is that kind of your go-to? Anything power bar related for powerlifting?
Yeah, so power bar related, deadlift bars.
Yeah.
I do have a slew of barbells in here. Actually, I have CrossFit bars. I have Olympic lifting bars. Okay. I have a SBB bar. I have a multi-grip bar. Yep. But yes, from a powerlifting standpoint, like even if I had even if this was an Olympic weightlifting based gym, I would have Olympic lifting barbells. Okay. So I want to be able to, for whatever your industry is, I want to make sure that I have the particular equipment for that niche. So for powerlifting, I have my power bars from Rogue. I have a couple of what are they called? Man, I cannot remember the name of that company. They're also powerlifting bars that I bought early on. Bars of Steel. I think they're what they're called. Bells of Steel. Bells of Steel. A couple of Olympic powerlifting bars from them. But yeah, that is my go-to for sure. The power bars from Rogue, the Ohio power bars. I need to get a deadlift bar in here. I don't have one yet. But that is the goal.
With USAPL, I know that it's all power bars, right? USPA, I think they have a unique bar for each lift. But on the deadlift bar, do you find more people being able to lift weight off the floor because of that flex, or does it really just depend on the body type?
I think for me personally, it depends on the body type.
Okay.
I think regardless of whatever type of bar, even if I only had CrossFit bars in here, and I still have my calibrated plates, you're gonna get it off the floor. Yeah. You know, I think at the end of the day, you have to work with what you have. But from a powerlifting standpoint, I think it depends on the body type for sure. Not to say that a deadlift bar doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it more comfortable for sure. But whatever you have, you're gonna make it work for you, and you're gonna adapt to that. So I won't say that it's necessary to have those items, but at the same time, I am a component of training how you compete. Yes. Training how you compete. So for my lifters in here, my actual competitive powerlifters, my wife, we only train with the power bars. We only train with our calibrated plates. We only train with our powerlifting collars, which I think is important come deadlift day, or not, excuse me, come powerlifting day. Right. Yeah.
Right. This is more of a personal question, but how important is it to mix up your training so that you're accounting for any variances on competition day? And by that, I mean things that could go wrong that probably will go wrong. For example, they have an Eleiko power bar versus a Rogue Ohio power bar, which feels a little bit different in your hand, and they don't have quite the right kind of setup or quite the type of setup that you have at your gym. Theirs might be a little bit different of the platforms off. Like, how do you account for those different variables on competition day and train for those? Do you switch? I mean, is there a way to switch it up in training where you're throwing yourself off?
That's a good question. From an equipment standpoint, I don't think that you can train for variances. Okay. Because what you have is what you have. Yeah. So I think it's kind of hard from an equipment standpoint. From a competing standpoint, it's very interesting that you bring that up because, for instance, in training, you can warm up exactly how you need to warm up for you to get ready for your 3 main lifts. Come competition day, there are a million people in the weight room, in the warm-up area, and sometimes not enough equipment for everyone to get by. So it's so interesting that you say that. So when we were training for our competition in July, we kind of already had it together with, well, how many warm-up lifts do you think that we'll actually get? Because we're not going to be able to do it the way we do it in training. Yeah. You know, you might get 3 lifts. You might get 2, depending on who's in there. How do you do that? And it came down to, you know what, we'll get as far as we can get. So let's go ahead and write it all out. So we wrote out maybe 6 lifts that we could get in the warm-up. But if we only get to 2 or 3, that's where that by any means necessary kicks in, because we weren't able to warm up the way we needed to warm up. That is really the only variance in training that I can think of that's probably going to screw you up on comp day. Yeah. And then you have other factors too as it relates to eating. Right. You know, are you getting enough water? Do we have enough snacks? Do we have enough carbs? Do we have enough protein? How was your breakfast? All of these things that you don't typically do every day that you're going to do differently on comp day. So from an equipment standpoint, I don't think that you can really change differently. From a warm-up standpoint, absolutely. And then from just regular training as it relates to accessories, I mean, we're not even thinking about that on comp day. So I mean, I think there are ways that you can anticipate those things that might throw you off. But at the end of the day, when you're on the platform, none of the rest of that stuff matters. It doesn't matter. You have to get your lift no matter what happens. And you can't blame it on, well, I wasn't able to warm up the way I usually want. That's a duh, right? You're not going to be able to do that. That's something that you should already know. So how was your mental going into that comp day? How did you prepare yourself mentally to be able to forego, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to hit 307 in my warm up, and my goal is to probably bust out 350. Yep. You just got to make the jump and do it. Yeah. How
important, you talk about nutrition, I know that's huge. That's like 80 to 90% of lifting, but how important, particularly for powerlifting. And the reason I ask this question is because some people get into powerlifting because it's like, oh, I can eat what I want. It's almost like strongman, where it's just like you just get as big as you possibly can. But there's weight classes for powerlifting, obviously. But how important is the nutrition aspect, just so people understand, for powerlifting, particularly in competition?
I mean, no matter what you're competing in or what you're doing, nutrition is always the number one most important thing. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a registered dietitian. I know what works for me. I know what works for my athletes. But I'm not a hey, I'll sell you meal plans. That's not my thing. But it's incredibly important because, as you mentioned, you got to make weight. You got to make weight. So even if you drink the wrong thing the night before, or if you have too much foam in your cappuccino the next morning, that can throw you off a kilogram. And now all of a sudden you're in a weight class that you weren't even training to be in. So it's very important. You have to be very intentional no matter what you do. And depending on if you're trying to maintain, depending on if you're trying to bulk, your proteins and your carbs are important, especially your carbs to keep you fueled throughout the day. I mean, powerlifting competitions are an all-day thing. And I think a lot of people on the outside looking in, they think, oh, well, you're just lifting 9 times. It's not that bad. It's like, no, I have to maintain my energy throughout that entire day. I have to keep my muscles warm throughout the entire day. I have to make sure I'm hydrated throughout the entire day. And not only do I have to make sure I'm hydrated, I have to make sure that I time my bathroom breaks accordingly, because I don't know when my next lift is going to be, or if I go to the bathroom now, I'm going to miss out on this warm-up set. It's very, very important. But yeah, no, it's incredibly important no matter what type of competition you do. And depending on the type of athlete you are, everyone is different as it relates to what they need nutritionally. But on comp day, and I will say this, on comp day, it's personal opinion. This is not me speaking. This is not me. I'm not laying it out there as a fact. For me personally and for my athletes, it's not as meticulous as what you eat that actual day. And so when I say that, I mean, if you want to have 2-3 handfuls of Sour Patches that day, go for it. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you want to drink a Gatorade, 4 or 5 cups of water, if you want to run down the street and possibly get a Chick-fil-A sandwich, go for it, right? Those aren't necessarily things that we would be doing through our training block, because we're working up to comp day. But when comp day is there, and I'm not saying that you're eating a steak on the platform. That's not what I'm saying. But you don't have to be as diligent on the actual day because you're already in it. As long as you can keep your carbs high, as long as you can keep your muscles fueled, you're good that day. And so you'll see a lot of variances. You'll see a lot of people on comp day eating all types. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, people are coming in there with, coolers of just junk. Yeah. But that's okay. So yeah, obviously, very, very, very important all the time, no matter what you do. They say 80% of what you do as it relates to any type of training is going to be nutrition. And I think that's true. I think that's a very fair, factual statement.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. There are some different schools of thought on that. Like some people like you need to eat clean, including through competition. Some people like you can just binge on competition day. So I'm curious if they've actually done any studies on powerlifting meets themselves and the nutrition that's going on like during competition. But there's got to be so many variances between training styles leading up to that I'm sure it's pretty hard to determine if that's effective or not.
Absolutely. I think that's for sure. I don't know if there's any studies or not. All I can do is speak on my experiences from my athletes and from myself. And I mean, obviously you have individuals where the goal is to be optimal at all times. There is no room for enjoyment, right? You have those people. And if that works for you, that's great. It's just that I'm not that particular coach, and those aren't my particular athletes. So if we want to have a chocolate chip cookie on meet day, we're going to have a chocolate chip cookie on meet day. Yeah.
What's your opinions on pre-workout supplements in general? There's a whole industry behind this and marketing too, but and one thing as well on that, I mean, are you taking pre-workout or anything on competition day, or because you're trying to have longevity throughout the competition, or are you just kind of avoiding all that?
So I do not take supplements. Okay. I've never taken supplements. I'm not going to say I've never taken supplements. I've tried supplements. Because you hear so much about it, right? Like, you should be taking your BCAAs and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. So it's like, well, why don't I try it? It's just, it's not, I can't get into it. I can't get into it. It's just, it's, I don't know if it's the consistency of how you have to take it, the time frames of how you have to take it. 30 minutes before this, 30 minutes after that. I can't get into it. And so I've never kept with it. I have one I shouldn't call her my athlete because she's not my athlete, but one of my competitors that train out of the gym, she does it religiously. Okay. She follows Renaissance periodization. She has, I mean, for the last 6 years, she will follow the same supplement regimen and she won't sway off of it. She's that athlete. She's that athlete that does not deviate, and that works for her. Yeah. She's an all-star, stellar competitor. Whereas my wife, on the other hand, doesn't take supplements either. Okay. We don't do pre-workout. Yeah. And it's never been our thing. We don't even take, and I don't even know if I should admit this or not, but we don't even take protein. Okay. We try to consume it naturally as much as we can. Yeah. Yep. It's just something that we just can't sustain it with our lives, with our day-to-day. It's just never been our thing. Not to say that supplements don't work for people. Obviously, they do. It's never been my thing. It's not something that I've ever encouraged. Now, if I had an athlete that said, I'm noticing this about my body comp, I'm noticing this about my energy levels, would I say, well, maybe you should try a supplement. Maybe you need a pick-me-up. Go try it. I couldn't tell them what brand to try. I couldn't do that. But so I think that depending on the type of athlete you are and the person that you are, I think that some people do need an extra push, and I believe that some people do not. Me, for instance, and I'm not a competitor, so I'm one of those outliers. But I'm not big on caffeine. I don't drink coffee. I don't do a lot of energy drinks. It's just I don't need it. Do I feel like I could still do a competition training block and compete and still be okay? Sure, I think that, but I really wouldn't know until I did it, and then I'd have to assess it and evaluate it and see what works for me. So I'm not against supplements. It's just not my thing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different versions to, like, stems versus non-stems, and BCAAs actually just recently got debunked as even effective. I don't know if you know this.
No, I didn't know that.
It's now it's EAAs. So
are you serious?
I'm sure that's going to be debunked in 10 years too. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so BCAAs is proven to be actually in some cases harmful.
Really?
Or have a slight negative effect. Yeah, it's really bizarre. And for years that was a thing. Do BCAAs. If you don't do BCAAs, you're gonna.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was pretty big. I did like a month of BCAAs and. And honestly, it was so long ago, I don't even remember if I felt the difference. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's probably, and I think in most cases, it's like a placebo effect, Here, take this capsule. Well, did it really help you, or was it just everything in here?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with, I think creatine is one of those things that's, even creatine is only, I think I heard a study, 66% effective. Mm-hmm. So there's 33% of the population that's just going to be non-responders.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I remember back when I was in high school, creatine was a really big deal from a powerlifting standpoint. And my coach was actually against us taking creatine. And I think at the time, and I don't know if this was true or not, it's just what he told us. It's a hearsay at the end of the day. Yeah. But he told us that for individuals that take creatine, you have to make sure that you're extra, extra hydrated.
Right.
I don't want to say there was something that happened in the news with creatine in relation to, like, kidney dysfunction. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I remember it being a really, really big thing, and he didn't want us taking it at all. Okay. And as a 15-year-old kid, you don't need to be taking supplements anyway, right? Yeah. So yeah.
You got enough coursing through your veins.
You got enough going on.
Be just fine. Well, that's awesome. Any crazy? I know you haven't been open a whole long while, but any crazy stories from since you've opened? Crazy people coming in, or people you've had to kick out, or anything that's happened with the gym itself?
Oh man, I've never had to kick anyone out. I will say I'm very anal. I'm very, very anal about cleanliness, about organization, and my members know this about me. It's funny because I made a joke the other day where I have this sign behind in front of us that you guys can't see, and it says we aren't fans of rules around here, but we do have a few suggestions. And I made a joke and I said I have a million rules. I have a million rules. I think that's how I want it to feel coming in. And then when I got in here, that kind of changed pace. And I mean, it's the simple. Put your stuff back. Put it back how you found it. That wasn't there when you came in, and when you started using it, it wasn't there. So put it back how you found it. That's probably my number one issue, as I'm sure every other gym owner in the world. Re-rack your weights and put the stuff back how you found it. Am I going to kick someone out because they don't know? But I am the gym owner that will text you, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, you forgot. And my members are very respectful. I've never had a member say, screw you, I'm not doing it. I have a lot of members that will come in and just put stuff in the gym, like, hey, I had these extra bands, I'm just going to put them in the gym. Yeah, like I have these chains, can I put them in here? Absolutely, right? And they open it up to the community. I had one guy, he kept forgetting his tripod. And I said, dude, you keep forgetting your tripod. And he said, you know what? Just keep it. And anybody can use it because I'm going to keep forgetting it. I know myself. Open it up to the community. So I haven't had to kick anyone out. I haven't had any major issues. I haven't had a lot of damage as it relates to I think my main thing, and with this being a powerlifting-based gym, we're not a CrossFit facility. Yes, I have rubber plates for those individuals that do CrossFit. But growing up in powerlifting, I am not okay with the phenomenon of dropping your barbell. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Even if I was in here the other day playing around with some cleans, just playing around, and I could not with rubber plates, and I could not drop my barbell. Like I had to, I can't do it. And so I try not to get on other people that do that, because again, I do have CrossFitters in my gym, and that's what they do. I think if anything, it's like, well, if you do that, just use the CrossFit barbell. Just use the CrossFit barbells if you're going to do that. Power bar. And I've had people that will try to drop the calibrated plates or my cast iron or on my platform. Yeah, I went through that. I went through a period where an individual, hence these signs you see now. That's the only reason why I made those signs, because they were just they were on the they were ascending on their deadlift, and then as opposed to bending over and dropping it, they would just. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that. These are cast iron plates. Yeah, my mirror is gonna fall off my wall if you keep doing that. But again, yes, I got it, and they don't do that anymore. I will say that when I first opened, you're trying to figure out your price structure, trying to figure out what that looks like, what works best for you. And like most people, you price yourself low because you don't really know what your worth is. You don't know what your worth is going to be, and you're scared, right? Like, no, people aren't going to join if I price it that high. And you got to get to a point where you're like, you know what, screw it. People will pay for quality if they want to, and if they don't, you don't want them in your facility anyway. And so I priced myself out very, very low. And I had the general fitness people that were in here, especially coming so fresh off COVID, where their gyms probably weren't open yet, but mine were. And so they're like, you know what, well, yeah, let's go to TFC Barbell Club. They have everything that we need. But they weren't the niche that I was looking for. Yeah. At the end of the day, anybody is welcomed in my gym. But I need you to be serious about your craft. And I need you to be serious about what you're doing. I need you to respect my equipment. I need you to respect my space, as if it was your own, as if you owned it. And I had a couple of people. I had a couple of people in here that they just didn't care. It was almost as if they were at Planet Fitness. And I said, you know what? I have to figure out a way to separate myself from that atmosphere. Yeah. So what I did was I upped my prices. But along with me upping my prices, I upgraded a lot of my equipment. Oh, cool. I upgraded a lot of my equipment in less than a year. And when I did that, I became a totally different facility. Oh, yeah. And when I jacked up my prices, I said, I'm not grandfathering. I sent out an email. I said, I'm not grandfathering anybody. Yeah. If you want to stay with me, great. Love it. Thank you for your support. If you don't, Thank you for the support that you have given me. And I had, I can't remember how many members I had at the time, but I had at least 20 people leave.
Oh, yeah.
I had at least 20 people. And I wasn't upset about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset about it. I had 20 people leave because they didn't want to pay the price. And I was fine with that. I was absolutely fine with that. And I made that back. I made that back with people that they come in here and they realize that they're in a room of individuals that are like-minded. They realize that they're in a space where, you know, it's clean, it's organized. The owner cares about what they're doing. I care about privacy, and they understand that, and they're willing to pay for it. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to create that space. So no crazy stories, but I have had a good amount of people leave, and I wasn't upset about it. I'll say that.
You got creative culture if you want to establish a certain type of presence.
Absolutely.
That totally makes sense. Well, this is a really nice space. What made you decide to be here as opposed to anywhere else in Charlotte?
Well, you know what? It's funny because my next door neighbor, his name is James Shipman. He owns Shipwreck Athletics and Performance. It used to be Shipwreck CrossFit. And he leases out this building. And he subleases out space. So there's me, there's a massage therapy studio behind me, and there's a dance studio upstairs. And when he was renting out this space, he put it on Instagram, and Facebook. And my wife sent it to me, and she said, hey, and I live less than a mile away from here. I ride my bike up here sometimes as a warm-up. And she sent it to me, and I immediately said, as most people do, I immediately said, why are you sending me this? I can't afford to do that. Why are you sending me? I can't do that. And she was like, I just thought you'd be interested. And then it stayed on my mind. It stayed on my mind for weeks. And my mom was like, do it. Just do it. My sister, just do it. You'll figure out the logistics later. I had no plan, Ashton. I had no plan. They said, just do it. Just acquire the space. And James wanted whoever took over this space, he wanted it to be in sync with the rest of the facility. Okay. So he wanted it to be health and fitness based. And I think he had a physical therapist that was interested at the time. And he was like, you know, the physical therapist is great, but, you know, hey, if you're interested, like, I want you to have it. It was $1.25 per square foot.
Wow.
$1.25 per square. Yeah. You're not going to find that anywhere else in Charlotte, right? Like, even though I didn't have a plan or a vision, that was so cost effective that it forces you to make it work. It forces you to figure it out. Yep. And so literally jumped out on faith, and I said, you know what, I'll take it. Yep. I'll take it. I paid him a deposit, and I started planning and mapping out when I would open. So I would say that this space literally fell in my lap. I was not looking to be a physical, I mean, I wanted to be a physical space. I had that as a goal before 2022, but at that particular time, I was not looking for it. I wasn't doing any type of real estate searches. I wasn't doing price points. I wasn't doing anything, and it just fell into my lap. It fell into my lap, literally. $1.25 per square foot. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you were doing, or are you still in HR, or is this now your full time?
I'm still in HR. I'm still a full-time HR business partner. My master's degree is in in HR management and learning and development. Cool. So I don't see myself leaving HR anytime soon. Yeah. I can see myself maybe going to a part-time status, but I love what I do. Yeah. I have the best, easiest job in the world. It challenges me when it needs to challenge me, and it cools me out when it needs to cool me out. And I've invested so much of my time and my money and my effort into that industry that I don't see myself leaving forever. So I still am a HR business partner.
Are you talking about like 40 hours a week? So how are you balancing that between managing the gym, or you're outsourcing some of the aspects here?
So I don't outsource. Luckily enough, I've been able to set the gym up to where it can kind of run itself. Okay. And so when I say that, my gym is open gym based. Okay. So people come in, they do their thing, and they leave. Okay. And I have an access control system. So on my front door and on my lobby door is a PIN code access. So if you don't have a PIN code, you're not in this facility at all. And so it's kind of like when we were talking about Anytime Fitness earlier. After hours, people just badge themselves in. There is no attendant. Same thing here, except I don't have an attendant ever. Yep. There's never an attendant. It is complete honor system. Complete honor system. I have cameras. I check in on my cameras every once in a while. I'll come in here. I'll clean up. I'll train myself. Sometimes I don't have to clean up because my members are getting much better at actually putting their stuff back themselves. I have a mop in the corner. If they make a mess, they'll clean it up themselves. Every once in a while, you have a straggler that kind of, runs amok, but nothing detrimental. And so every once in a while, I'll come in here, I'll clean up, I'll change the trash. I have a deep clean service that comes in once a month. And so it runs itself. I could probably go 3, 4, 5 days without ever stepping foot in here. And I don't need to. So yeah, it runs itself. And that's how I set it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, and you kind of need that with being at work during the day. I mean, are they just out of curiosity, are they allowing you to work remote these days? Are you having to be physically in the office, or?
So, I recently transitioned into a different company in January.
Okay.
And so the company before that, we were essentially essential workers. I've always been in manufacturing. Okay. And we were required to go to the physical space.
Okay.
And so it was really at that time where it's like, hey, I can't be here all the time. I need to figure out an alternative. My new job is remote. I go into the office maybe once a week. And I love that. That's how I was hired. That's how it's been. I love it. I don't want to get rid of that component. But even though I'm remote, I still can go 3, 4, 5 days without coming in here. So, I fill my day up with doing my HR job, running errands, getting new stuff for the gym, figuring advertising, marketing. Like my days are pretty full still, with doing TFC stuff. It's just that I'm not physically here doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything big coming up for the gym? Are you looking to, at some point, expand or grow this, or do you like the feel of where you're at, the size of the space, and that kind of thing?
So, I love my location. I love where I am. It's so close to home. I love this spot, but eventually, I would love to be a standalone. I would love to be a standalone. Where, I have my own showers, my own bathrooms, a vending machine. Maybe I actually do have an attendant. That is the goal. That is the goal. Where I would want to be, I would love to be in probably South End Charlotte, because South End is just absolutely popping these days. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, there's just so much traffic there. And I mean, I think that would be great for business. It's going to cost a pretty high dollar, obviously. But I would love to be in areas where, people are going to come from on lunch break from work, right after work. And I would also love to be able to have a dual system where I have a open gym section and I have a performance section, right? So whether that looks like, maybe that's group classes, maybe that's maybe a little bit of CrossFit, where people, hey, I don't know what to do in the gym by myself. I need someone to guide me. I have a separate section for those individuals. So I have some ideas of where I want to be, I'd say 5-10 year plan. Right now I'm cruising in this space. I'm still trying to grow. My numbers still aren't ideally where I want them to be. And so continue to kind of grind that out. And then hopefully one day, be my own standalone brick building with, TFC Barbell Club kind of lit up on the building. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a great thing going here. What's you said the next competition coming up is in South Carolina in December?
Yeah, so that's my next competition with my athlete is in December in Columbia. Awesome. And then next weekend, actually, on August 21st, we're hosting our first workshop, our first powerlifting workshop.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. Like, do you have any training programs or things here?
So this is our first workshop that we're doing, and TFC Barbell Club is hosting it, and the teachers, instructors, I guess you could say, are Zach Henderson and Tracy Cook. I mentioned them earlier. Yeah. And they're going to be going through the 3 main lifts: technique, form. We opened it up to 15 participants. We sold out in about maybe a month and a half, which is great. So they're going to be here this Saturday. We're going to have box lunch. We're going to have the bay door open and kind of going through all the movements. So that's going to be really cool. And then trying to figure out, how I can continue to do things like seminars and workshops and what that looks like. I don't know if you're familiar with Lifetime Fitness University.
Yes.
So they're closing. They're closing down. October 31st, they're closing. So trying to figure out how to get some of those members.
Yeah.
So I think I might host maybe like a $5 drop-in day. Anybody from Lifetime Fitness, come on in, free Saturday, do your thing, ask me questions, figure out it's for you. So I think I want to host one of those pretty soon. So now I feel like I've finally been able to get my wheels under me. I have the equipment that I want. I'm missing one piece of equipment, which I actually talked to you about a couple months ago. I'm still looking for that combo machine.
Okay.
I think I found one from Precore.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to get that in here within the next 2 months. And so I'm finally at a point where I am satisfied. When I opened, I was never really satisfied, but I added my turf. I have my sled, I'm getting to a point where I'm becoming more and more comfortable with what I'm able to offer, and I feel good about it. And so with that, I want to be able to now invite more people in from a workshop, seminar, free drop-in. Maybe that's, one Saturday out of the month, free drop-in day at TFC Barbell Club. Just come in and do your thing. So getting my name out there is really the focus now. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha. You mentioned equipment, which I'm absolutely in love with. Out of curiosity, there are some people who take the philosophy that the equipment, the single-purpose equipment, so if you just have a row, if you just have a bicep curl, that's really effective because it's working out that single body part very exclusively and well. Mm-hmm. I know with spaces like this, it can be more effective to have something that does multiple things, but if you had unlimited space, would you prefer the multifunctional and multi-use equipment, or are you more of the philosophy that if it's single use, that's fine because a dedicated machine is better than a machine that you do a few things on?
If I had the space, I would be fine with single use.
Okay.
If I had the space for it, I would be fine with single use because my footprint is so small. Yeah. I need to dual as many things as I can. Yeah. Yeah. And when I started out, I had a separate leg curl, a separate leg extension, a separate calf raise. Okay. And as I continue to upgrade, I'm like, I got to get this out of here, and I don't know why I didn't. And those are the silly mistakes that you make when you first, I could have avoided all of this early on if I had just been thinking correctly. Mm-hmm. But you learn and you grow. So if I had the space for it, I absolutely would be fine with those single function machines. In the dual machines, I don't think that there's anything wrong with them. I think it's fine. If anything, I'd probably have double the amount of multifunction machines if I had to double the space, especially if I had high volume foot traffic. But I think at the end of the day, it depends on your footprint and what you're working with. Okay. Yeah.
Is there any advantage to single use versus multi-use that you've seen from a physical standpoint, performance standpoint?
Not so much. Not so much. No, I haven't seen a huge difference with that. I would say that there are, and you probably already know this, there are huge advantages over cable versus plate loaded. Yes. Obviously. Oh my God. Right. Yeah. If I had more space, everything in my gym would be plate loaded. Everything would be plate loaded. Everything. Yeah. So I would say that. But over single multi, no. Personally, for me, I've never seen any differences. I'd be fine with either one. I would, even if I had this, if in my head, if I had the space the way I want to have it, I'd probably have various. I've had various of both. Okay. For sure.
Yeah, I freaking love the hammer. I like Hammer Strength's philosophy in that regard because Absolutely. That's all. I think that's pretty much all they do.
Yeah,
is plate loaded equipment. So, have you seen the old chain driven stuff?
No.
Way back in the day, so they make chain driven. So instead of belt driven or cable driven, chain driven stuff. That stuff never breaks.
Really?
Because it's a metal chain.
Yeah.
So it's like snapping a bike chain, and it's almost impossible to do. And so I've seen a couple of them. The guy at Brutal Iron, I think, has one or two of those kind of pieces.
Really?
And they just last and last and last.
No, I got to check that out. I've never seen one.
Oh, yeah. They're old school. So like Nautilus makes some. And actually, you know what? That's the only one I've seen. Nautilus? Yeah. So
they're heavy hitters,
yeah. Yeah. So and they weigh like 1,000 pounds.
Oh, gosh.
So they're super heavy, but they're really nice. So. I mean, that's awesome. Is there anything coming up that people should know about other than the seminar, like late fall or anything like that for the club?
No, not really. I'm gonna try to do. I think I'm gonna try to do that $5 drop-in day pretty soon.
Okay, cool.
In which everyone is invited to that. So it's not just individuals at Lifetime Fitness. Anybody that's heard about the club, that's probably seen a couple of pictures on Instagram, and you want to just come check it out. Because my regular drop-in rate is $20,
Okay.
But we'll have a $5 day. Just come on out. They'll be on my Instagram page when I promote that. Nothing too heavy going on. As events continue to come up, which I'm hoping they will, because that's something that I'm looking forward to doing. Everything will be able to be found on my Instagram page.
Awesome. And where can people find you?
So you can find me. My physical address is 7517 Ora Road, Charlotte, North Carolina 28213. My Instagram handle is the Fit Fat Coach. My Facebook page is the Fit Fat Coach. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you Google the Fit Fat Coach, or if you even Google TFC Barbell Club, we'll pop right up.
Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Well, guys, you need to check this facility out. It is, when you walk in here, it's immaculate.
Thank you.
And the equipment is top notch. So you've done a really good job maintaining this place, and she knows what she's doing. So if you're in Charlotte, check this place out. Get some training in, and either do a drop-in or become a member. That'd be awesome for her. So appreciate you coming by. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.